Ever taken a street photo that has good light and good composition, but still felt flat? What if the problem wasn't your timing or your technique, but the subject who walked through? Let's get into it. You've got good light, you've found a decent background, you take the shot, but later when you look at the photo, something still feels off, like it's missing that spark. And here's why. Sometimes it's not the lighting or the framing, it's the subject. The person walking through the frame just didn't elevate the moment. Light and composition get all the attention, and they obviously do matter. But if the subject doesn't add something, a confident pose, a strong silhouette, or even just the right kind of presence, even with great lighting and composition, the image can still fall flat. That's the part that we forget. You can get everything technically right and still miss the moment because the subject just wasn't right for the photo. So how do you fix that? You give yourself more chances by waiting or returning. First, you've got to find a frame that has potential, something that catches your eye and makes you think this could work. It could be the way the light falls across the composition, or a background with good texture and colour. It doesn't have to be perfect, just interesting enough to be worth your time. And when you find it and start snapping away, don't rush off. Stay with it and let it play out. It's not about just waiting for anyone to walk through. It's about giving the composition a chance to deliver the right person, someone whose body language adds presence, whose clothes help the composition instead of blending in with it. Take this subject, for example, hopping on a scooter and wearing a hat and coat. Or this guy walking with intention with blonde wavy hair sticking out of his hat. It's about grabbing the photos of the subjects that stand out, as opposed to the ones who get lost in the background or just don't work with the image. Or sometimes it's about waiting for someone whose bold colours contrast or harmonise with the rest of the scene. And if it doesn't come together, that's fine. Just like you've seen with these photos, you can always come back later in the day, when the light and shadows have shifted and the crowds change. I did exactly that in Folkestone recently. I found a few spots where the light and the composition was brilliant, but the subjects just weren't quite right. So I either hung around for a while or returned later in the day. And working like this gives you more chances to grab the shot that you're after. So what actually makes a good subject? Because the right subject, not just any subject, is what pushes the photo from technically fine to something that your viewers will take notice of. It might be the way someone moves through the frame with confidence, elegance, or even a bit of awkwardness. Maybe it's how their clothing pops against or harmonises with the background, or just how their whole presence feels a little bit more unique. I've got two shots of the same well-dressed man, literally a second apart. The setting's exactly the same, but in one his posture is upright and elegant, and in the other his bent leg throws off the classiness and the balance of the image. It's the tiniest shift in pose, but it aesthetically makes a difference. And this isn't just a street photography thing. This has been true across film and photography for decades. Think of how directors in old films frame characters to convey dignity, tension, coolness, sometimes just through the way they stand or they lean. Photographers, actors, directors, they've all used posture as a tool to suggest character and presence. And that stuff still works. It's subtle, but in our culture, we understand it. And street photography is all about noticing these subtle details. The same goes for what someone's wearing. I'm not saying that there's a perfect outfit for street photography, but some combinations just click with a scene. They help build the mood. The moment starts to feel cinematic or timeless, or at the very least, a little bit more alive. So, to sum up, what makes the subject in street photography is often subtle but powerful. It might be how their clothing or character either pops from or blends beautifully into the background. Or maybe they're just dressed a little differently than most people passing by. Even the way you capture their posture and walking gait, mid-step, upright, relaxed, can make the whole frame feel more balanced and striking. And when the light hits just right, that's when the photo really comes alive. If you're finding this helpful, please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Plus, if you're looking for some creative structure next time you're out shooting, I've put together a new 10-day street photography challenge pack. It's designed completely for your mobile phone, so you can take it with you anywhere. You've got 10 different challenges that you can use each day or any day, which will help you improve your shooting skills. Also, I might be offering photo reviews soon, so if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, just drop me an email on the new page in my website. I always love to hear from you. You don't always need to come back later, and you don't always need a new subject. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just keep shooting, because the first frame you take, even with the right light, right subject, and right setting, isn't always the best version of that shot. It's easy to see a composition that you like, get your shot, and move on. But there's a kind of quiet power in staying just a little bit longer, watching how the subject shifts, noticing how the light moves across them differently with each step they take, catching something small, a gesture, a turn of the head, a little spark of movement. That's what happened in this moment. I had a decent frame, good light, and a strong subject, but I kept going. A few frames later, a small bird flew into the composition. It's barely visible, but it changed the mood of the image. Suddenly, there was a little bit of energy. Or take this subject, same spot, same pose, just a few seconds apart. But in one frame, the shadows fell across his back in a way that looked more cinematic. I couldn't have planned it, I just had to be there for it. The light, the pose, the energy, all of these change second by second, and often it's those micro changes that give a photo its edge. So if the scene already feels close to working, don't leave too soon. Give it a minute. Let the moment show you what else it's got. Sometimes the best photo is just 2 frames away. Now, just to be clear, this isn't about checking who's stylish enough to be photographed. It's not about judging somebody for what they're wearing or how they walk. That's not the point, even though I think photographing men in shorts is a sin. It's about learning to recognise when all the visual elements line up, when the light, the composition, and when the subject's presence all come together to create something that feels complete. Something that takes your photo from great to extraordinary. But don't drive yourself mad hunting for the perfect subject. Only a handful of people really stood out to me during this shoot, and that's just the way it goes when you're out shooting. On my channel, it's all about you learning and experimenting. So a well-lit frame with good composition and someone walking through at the right time or just being there, that's already a great shot. I'm just showing you how, when a subject brings that extra bit of energy, style, or presence, it can quietly take your photo from good to something that really holds together beautifully. So here's my question for you. What do you look for in a street photography subject? I'm curious to hear what you think about this. Pose, outfit, energy, anything goes. I'd love to hear your stories. Share them down below. It's not just for me, but it's for everyone out there who's learning and trying to figure this stuff out like the rest of us. Plus, if you want to see more examples of how light alone can change the feel of an entire photo, then check out my video on mastering light in street photography. Until we meet again, go forth and create.